Hi, my name is Victor Delgado, and my presentation is on counseling students and families of spiritual diversity. All right. How will you define spirituality? The textbook explains that it's very difficult and challenging to define spirituality because it may be different to all people and it's very personal and unique. So, pretty much, they still had to come up with a definition. So, beliefs, practices, or experiences held by an individual. Also, the pathway of spirituality is explained as mindfully and heartfully enduring all emotions in order to create a relationship with a higher power. Okay, now here are the major world religions. In the eastern part of the world is Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. In the western world is Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Now, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism comprise of 70%, about 70%, pretty much 73% actually, of Americans in the United States. That's what they identify as, those three religions. Knowing something about a client's ethnic background is important on an intake form. It is also useful to know something about the client's religious and spiritual beliefs and whether the client wants to consider those beliefs as part of treatment. So it's always good at intake to understand the client's beliefs, spirituality, especially if they want to use that as part of their treatment within the counseling session. And also, they may be religious but not want it part of their counseling session. So that's something to consider as well. Okay, so there's a relationship between religion and spirituality, and there may not be one at all. Let's go to the quote here first by Paul McCartney. I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. There's a lot of people that believe that. So we're the first one. So hand in hand is where, in order to be spiritual, you must be religious. It goes hand in hand. It cannot be separated because it's part of religion to be spiritual. That's one interpretation that people have. The second one is Carl Jung interpretation that people pretend. This is where people attend church services or are members of church out of fear, out of fear of going to hell or not being in God's favor. So they go to church, they're members, faithfully going, they participate, but yet they have little to no spirituality, no spiritual experiences at all. It's just something they do. And then the third one is spiritual but not religious. So these are people that do not follow the traditional church or attend a traditional church or denomination, but they consider themselves spiritual and having a relationship with a higher power. Also, for example, people of gay or lesbian sexual orientation may have been going to a church and were rejected by the church due to their sexual orientation, but yet their spiritual and religious life are separate. They are not combined. So just because they left the church or were rejected by the church doesn't mean that they are no longer spiritual. They can remain spiritual and try to have a connection with God. Or, for instance, they'll join a church that supports the LGBT community and continue their spiritual journey. So the first one is where people say they coexist. There's no way they're separate. In order to be spiritual, you must first be religious. The second one is people just show up to church, show up to religious organizations, but have no spirituality at all. And then third is that religion doesn't define them. They can be spiritual without religion, therefore. All right. Now, the importance for understanding the client's spiritual or religious beliefs. I find it to be very important for counselors to understand people because a lot of their problems or issues may be concerned concerning with religion or spirituality. And that might be a topic they will want to dive into and discuss. So clinicians must remain open and non-judgmental, recognizing that there are multiple paths towards fulfilling spiritual needs. All right. Many diverse and ethnic groups cannot be understood unless the counselor pays serious attention to the client's spiritual and religious beliefs. So it's very important for the counselor to appreciate their beliefs, their spirituality, because it may play a big role, critical role in the counseling session. Now, if the counselor completely disregards the client's religious or spirituality, that can really destroy the rapport and really damage any further counseling sessions in the future with openness, the client being willing to open or express themselves because the counselor doesn't find their beliefs or religious practices as important. So it's always going to be non-judgmental and accepting for who they are. And if they want to speak on spirituality, let them speak on it and don't disregard it. Here I have some resources by counseling.org. First one I have was ACA Code of Ethics. I thought it was very informative. Pretty much what I said earlier. The counselor must be non-discriminational, non-judgmental, non-prejudice concerning people's spirituality. And then the second one is integrating spirituality and counseling practice, gain insight of the client's ideas and behavior through their core beliefs. So you can find out a lot about people, especially religious or spiritual people, by how they think and why they act certain ways due to their core beliefs. So religion and spirituality are often part of clients' problems, but can also be part of the client's solution. Because spiritual and religious values can play a major part in human life, spirituality should be viewed as a potential resource in therapy rather than as something to be ignored. Counselors can make use of the spiritual and religious beliefs of their clients to help them explore and resolve their problems. All right. So helping clients is very important, especially if it has something to do with their spirituality. And here are my references, and thank you. Hope you enjoyed.